And that thing that you are afraid to face, it might only come up for a short amount of time, but it's something that we don't want to face because where we already are may feel preferable or may feel good enough. And so we don't always challenge ourselves to just like let go of that thing or to really move in a way that's going to detoxify our body. Because a lot of the time, the detoxification process, the emotional purging, the clearing out of old energies is actually more uncomfortable than the just kind of routine day-to-day way of life. And the way of life is so much more familiar and you don't want to rock the boat basically. It's that kind of that fear of the unknown. It's like, great things could be on the other side of that proverbial, you know, fence or that proverbial door or whatever road you have to cross. There could be great things on the other side, but there's always that fear that like, well, it could be worse too. In your mind can get you into that. But once you realize that, being afraid of change and being afraid to kind of cross that threshold and get over that hump, once you realize that being afraid of that is actually is totally uncomfortable and is not much fun at all, and is not getting you to where you want to be, then you realize, well, actually, change is my only real option. And and you take it and you realize, well, the thing that I was afraid of is actually harmony. The thing that I was afraid of is actually, detoxifying my system, detoxifying my mind. And it's not even the change that you're afraid of, it's the process of detoxifying all the old things that you've been holding on to. And so what do you do out of fear of feeling that process, feeling those things moving to you? What do? You keep building those things up. And so what do we think inevitably is going to happen? Well, we're going to have to move through all that stuff. We're going to have to get away from all that stuff eventually because you can't just keep building up all this resistance and have no place for it to go. So you go through these processes, you go through these things where you're constantly being put into scenarios where you find yourself getting hung up on certain things. You're getting hung up on this person. You're getting hung up on this situation. You're getting hung up on this feeling. You're getting hung up on this circumstance. And the thing is that all of these situations, all of these events, these experiences in life, they really don't have such a rigid meaning on their own. They're no more substantial than the other millions of different experiences and thoughts and feelings that you have all the time. But for some reason, this particular handful of experiences, you get really hung up on them. So they have some deep, like, emotional charge, or it's like this very personal kind of thing, and you assign this very deep meaning to it. And yet they're really no more substantial than anything else. And you've gone through so many changes in your life already, and you've gotten over so many of these hangups and so many of these setbacks just by kind of, softening your rigidity, softening your expectations, just by maybe being a bit more courageous when you needed to, being a bit more open when you needed to. And, what happens is you just get over the thing. And then you stop making that serious, rigid association with that thing, and you start realizing, well, maybe it's not such a big deal. And so you keep going, but you really can't get to that point where until you can't really get to that point until you keep facing the thing and you take it seriously and you make mistakes and you stumble over it and you struggle with it until finally you're like, you know what? It's easier for me to just let it be, just let it go, you know, take a step back, look at it with a little more objectivity, see it in the space of awareness, not get so magnified, not get so caught up on it. And you keep going through this process with all the different experiences. So if you're having an experience that you really don't like, well, that's because those are the experiences that you keep getting hung up on. And just like with all the other myriad of experiences that you've had in life, where you faced them, they felt serious, they felt compelling until you were ready to kind of move beyond them and you're ready to not take them so seriously. These situations that are still coming up for you, it's going to be the same process. So, really, the best advice I can give anybody who's struggling with anything at all is that you really just got to stop taking it so personally. You really got to make a little more space to look at it more objectively, and you have to be willing to kind of let go of your resistance towards it, even if it feels really tight and really compelling. And it's like, no, not this one, though, not this one. I have to do something about this. Take some time for it. Don't make the assumption that this one's more important than anything else. Take some time. Step back, look at it. Am I really achieving the result that I need to achieve by like fighting with this energy or struggling with this energy or projecting my fears onto these people? Like, am I really doing myself a service? Or am I just being a hypocrite? You're like, oh, why are these people? They're all afraid. Why are they doing all these things? And you're literally doing the same thing, and that's why you're bothered by it. So, yeah, that's really the message, the message for right now. It's just remember, things are never as serious. No matter how serious they are, or no matter how serious they may appear to be, they are never as serious as your mind makes out to be. Because you can take the most serious, heavy situation, and your mind, when you get into your mind and you start telling this like kind of doomsday kind of story about what's going on, that you're literally just adding an additional layer of heaviness to the thing that's already heavy. So there's really no point in even going there. Just observe that that's where your mind goes because when you get into your mind, you don't know what to do. You're confused. That's why you're getting into your head because you're trying to distract yourself from the fact that this circumstance is happening and you don't have a lot of control over it. And it's scary. It's scaring you and it's uncomfortable and you're trying to distract yourself because you're trying to fix it. So you're trying to use your logical mind to piece together this escape strategy, this exit strategy. And it only works for so long if it ever works at all, because eventually these situations will keep coming back. You keep finding yourself in the same situations with different people and in different locations because you carry that vibration with you, that energy with you. It's just one of the universe's way of balancing things out to help you grow, actually. So just remember, nothing is ever as serious as you think it is. And even if something is really serious and demands attention, panicking in your mind and telling a self-fulfilling kind of negative story about it is only adding an additional layer. So there's really no sense to worrying about it. You're gonna just do the best you can. You're gonna do the best you can, and it's gonna work out some way. It's either gonna work out the way you want or it's not gonna work out the way you want. And sometimes getting the thing you want actually makes us more arrogant than we would be if we actually didn't get what we wanted. Sometimes we grow, actually, oftentimes we grow and learn much more when we don't get what we want. Because a lot of the time, what we think we want is based on a limited amount of information. It's based on a limited idea that we have about life. We want to stay within that little framework, that little limited point of view, so that we can continue having our little desires and our little, and not having to face the big world and not having to face all the things that scare us. But, all the things that we really, truly desire are actually outside of that comfort zone. So it doesn't mean that you don't, obviously you want to be comfortable some of the time. That's why we, sleep on a mattress and have a pillow and use blankets and stuff. You don't want to, you're not trying to thrust yourself into every battle that comes up. You're not trying to make yourself totally uncomfortable all the time. But you do have to leave your comfort zone from time to time. You do have to expand. And the beautiful thing is that when you expand your scope, your horizons, you might find a larger comfort zone. You might find a larger space, and maybe that space is, once you kind of get over that initial hump of fear and uncertainty, maybe this larger space actually turns out to be something really wonderful. And that's comfortable, and you realize, well, I can be comfortable as long as I keep embodying change. As long as I keep embracing change, well, I can be comfortable even when things are more physically uncomfortable. There can still be a layer of stability and courageousness and, willingness to embrace the moment. Because it's really when we stop trying to distract ourselves from what we're currently feeling or what's currently going on, that's when the solutions come to us. And a lot of the time, I know this from personal experience, the solution that you're looking for, well, the solution that comes is that, oh, wow, I don't actually have a problem. That's what you realize, you don't actually have a problem. You are making the problem up and then trying to find a solution. But when you just kind of relax and stop distracting yourself, you realize, oh, this situation, not even a situation anymore, it's just an experience, just another thing. It's not uncomfortable, it's not a problem, even if it's not my most desired result. It's not my most desired experience, but it's not necessarily a problem. So you don't need to find a solution to something that isn't a problem. Just in the same way, you don't need to desire something that you already have. And a lot of time, we're looking for peace, we're looking for some kind of stability, we're looking for some kind of equanimity. Well, you can't really find that outside of where you currently are. Because how can you ever be at peace if you're seeking elsewhere, if you're on the move, So you really just have to be where you are. If you're ever going to be at peace, if you're ever going to be at tranquility, if you're ever going to be in harmony, you just have to be right where you are already. And then you can stop running away from the fears that are trying to convince you that the solution is elsewhere. It's actually, the solution is underneath your fear. You just have to let your fear dissolve and stop seeing it so seriously. Stop exaggerating it in your mind. So it's really just about being here in the moment. And ultimately, I think, I can record 1,000 different messages and they will all just come back to just being here in the moment. Because that's literally every experience I have, every channeled message I have, every teaching, every trial, or whatever you want to call it that I go through, they all lead me back to right here where I already am. Just lead me back to my presence, my present moment, my being. Because this is where everything starts and ends. And when you come back to that vast kind of uncreated potentiality that just exists underneath all your experiences and you just rest here, well, you can create any problem you want. And you can create any solution you want. And you can create anything you want. And the beautiful thing is that when you're in harmony with yourself, you don't want to create problems because there's no point. There's nobody running. There's nowhere to go to. There's nothing to achieve outside of this present moment. And it doesn't mean that wonderful things aren't here and that wonderful things aren't coming. It just means that you don't have to run away. The grass isn't necessarily greener on the other side. The grass is green here too. It may be green on the other side, but it's green everywhere by virtue of this presence, this peace, this power that's within us. Because the beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. And the experiences of life stem from this equanimity. It's beyond all thought, beyond all feeling, beyond all form, beyond all strivings and struggles. It's beyond all the projections of our mind. It gives life to all of these different things and yet remains completely unspoiled. And I would invite you to find that for yourself, to embrace that for yourself, to recognize that it's here all the time. Bless you. God bless you. I love you. Love yourself. Bless yourself. Be yourself. And you bless the world. Thank you. Thank you.